Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now March 4th of 2020, and ever since the release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney and Lucasfilm, and exactly how they're going to handle the future of Star Wars moving forward throughout this entire decade. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that we do know about the future of Star Wars is that Disney and Lucasfilm are currently crafting new Star Wars movies, new TV shows, new books, comics, novels, and other projects that will be a part of Disney Plus and other projects they are actually currently developing to actually expand the Star Wars universe. Now, obviously, The Rise of Skywalker served as the very end of the Skywalker saga. This was a very big film. It was the true culmination of the Skywalker to some. Meanwhile, to other Star Wars fans, it was a failed culmination of the Skywalker saga. Everybody has their own opinion, which is perfectly fine and okay, and is completely welcome here in the comment section below. But when we look at the future, right, everything related to the new Star Wars trilogy, that's the one thing that I think a lot of fans are very curious about. Whether or not you're into Star Wars right now, fans are still very curious to see exactly whether or not Disney is going to succeed or fail with these new Star Wars films, and exactly if it's really going to be the best for Star Wars as a franchise throughout this entire decade of the 2020s. And with that being said, guys, what's really intriguing is that now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with The Rise of Skywalker, they are currently focused on their new Star Wars trilogy, also known as the fourth Star Wars trilogy. It's explained that Disney is currently moving along into the development phase for these new Star Wars movies to be released in the near future, where it's noted that one of the big plans by Disney is to introduce a new character called Tor Valum in the Star Wars universe in some way, shape, or form with these new Star Wars films. It's explained that Disney wants to incorporate some of Colin Trevorrow's concepts into the new Star Wars trilogy, as Tor Valum being one of the masters of Darth Plagueis that will be explained in these new Star Wars films. Now, it's also noted that the new Star Wars trilogy will also dive into a similar pattern of the prequel trilogy, a part of the new trilogy, to actually include Dark Jedi into the mix for these new Star Wars films, where it's actually said that Disney wants to explore the Dark Jedi in the new Star Wars trilogy and base them over in the unknown regions, as well as a brand new region over in the galaxy. It said that this is Disney's way of expanding the Star Wars franchise as much as they can for the fans, where additionally it's noted that Lucasfilm also wants to introduce the Worlds Between Worlds in the fourth trilogy of Star Wars, which was introduced by creator Dave Filoni for Star Wars Rebels. Now, it's explained that the Worlds Between Worlds will play a role in these new Star Wars films to make the fans better understand the Force, and this will be Disney's way of bringing in time travel lightly into a live-action Star Wars movie. Currently, Kevin Feige is still trying to get Keanu Reeves and other A-list actors on board for these new Star Wars movies that are now picking up on development. So, the thing about this fourth trilogy, like I say, it's a very interesting process. Now, they are in development as we speak, these new Star Wars films. This really is going to propel fans into a new mythology of Star Wars. We do know that Bob Iger talked about this over at Star Wars Celebration, and even over at the premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, where he was talking about that they are now just figuring out exactly what they can really do with Star Wars and how big they can really make it out to be as the MCU almost. Now, is Star Wars really the MCU? Not necessarily. That's what the new Star Wars universe is going to mimic. It's going to mimic the MCU. Not as far as tone goes, but as far as how everything is going to connect or tease something to come out in the future or something that will be based in the past, just like how the MCU movies actually set up other films, right? So, these new Star Wars films, I think that the most exciting thing out of all of this is the fact that they are going to be introducing the Worlds Between Worlds in this new Star Wars trilogy, which I honestly think is going to be a bit of a risk for some Star Wars fans out there. The Worlds Between Worlds, it worked for Star Wars Rebels. I'm just not quite sure if it'll work in the form of live action, right? It seems like that there's always this divide between what's seen on the big screen and what's actually seen in the form of animation or in books, right? So, the Worlds Between Worlds, can it work on the big screen? Absolutely, if they execute it very well. But keep in mind, that will also introduce the concept of time travel, essentially, to literally every single Star Wars fan, whether you're a hardcore fan or a casual fan or a new fan just being introduced to the Star Wars franchise. So I think that the Worlds Between Worlds, good idea, just very risky depending on how they're going to execute that in the new Star Wars movies. So hopefully they'll be able to get that down. Obviously, you know, one would argue, well, if the Worlds Between Worlds is going to come into the Star Wars films, why can't they just use that as a concept to save other characters, just as Ezra Bridger saved Ahsoka Tano, right? So there's always an argument or a debate within that of them bringing in that realm into the Star Wars universe, you know, in the form of live action. Like I say, Dave Filoni, great guy, very innovative when it comes to Star Wars, and he's working on multiple timelines as we speak right now. He's not just working on, you know, the Kenobi TV series here and there with Jon Favreau in the mix, making creative choices here and there as well, but he's also working on, you know, the Clone Wars Season 7, and he's also working on other animated projects. The Star Wars Rebels sequel series is another thing that he's working on, which we will be learning about in the near future. So with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. If you guys did enjoy that, let me know what you think about this below, and I'll catch you guys next time.